How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Creeps. This is an anthology horror magazine. We have number 27 here, which it puts from December 2020, but as you guys know with publications, they always have these special things to get it out early, so it's November right now, but I have my hands on it. But yeah, The Creeps. So if you guys follow this channel, you know that I do a comic book every single week, and a fair bit ago, I did The Creeps number 27, because that was the first time I found the magazine, and I wanted to show you guys what it was and, you know, what it was all about, and I was happy to find it. But quite recently, some people have been saying, hey, you should cover more of this series. They're saying they like it, and I'm like, okay, I can cover another one of these issues. And I just want to say, if you guys do want to see more from this series, let me know, either in a comment or with a like, and I'll definitely get to the next issue whenever it comes out, if you guys want to see more of it. So let's begin by taking a look at this cover here. You get the Beast Man, and he's standing over this woman, and yeah, I have to keep my thumb right there. I wish I didn't have to, but YouTube can be a little bit crazy sometimes. She's got a quite loose covering there, let's just say, and I think YouTube might get a little mad at me. So anyway, a cool painted cover. You get the light coming in from behind him, and yeah, I do have to give the Creeps magazines real props, because they always go out and they commission a cover based on one of their stories, and it's a really nice painting each time. They're really good to look at. I think you can actually, there's a form in here, you can order them as big posters if you want, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and open it up. On the back side of the cover, you get this fun article about black dogs in horror, you know, Cerebus, the Hound of the Baskervilles, and a couple other legends there. So a fun little article about a creature, horror history. And then we go on to the table of contents, and you can see the credits, and you see the Dear Old Creep, which is the fan letters, Dungeon of the Beastman, which is from the cover, and that's your first story, Bum Rap, Put Your Heart Into It, The Horror Horn, House, The Creeps Fan Club, and The Last of His Kind. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but that's a letter, and that's a prose story. So 6 comics here, and for whatever reason, these are all mixed up. You see, like, this says this image is from page 8, but I don't believe that is. Page 8 would be Dungeon of the Beastman, and that would be this picture. So I'm not sure what happened there. They got mixed up, but whatever. Let's just jump right in to, oh, quick glance. There's the mail page. The Creeps 25 is, I think, what they're talking about in this one. All the letters they got from 25. The mail is usually a little bit behind. But anyway, Dungeon of the Beastman, you get your typical sword and sorcery questing hero, and he comes in and he finds that the battle is over, but he meets this old man who says, oh, it wasn't really a battle. You see, this mysterious beast man with the head of a wild boar and a giant sword and crazy strength, he came and he killed everyone. I like that guy's head's just flying off. But he took the old man's slave girls, and he wants the hero to go in and save them so he can have them back, and he's not really too happy about that. He's lifting him up like Darth Vader there. So he does want to save these women, but he has a bit of a problem knowing that they might go back to this guy who's kind of a jerk, but he brings them along because he's like, okay, not sure what I'm going to do with you, but you have to help if we're going to do this. And you get to find out where the Beast Man came from, and you get to see his dungeon there. So it's a pretty cool classic sword and sorcery story. Moving on along, you get the bum rap, or, well, no, just bum rap, and you get this guy who's a hyper low budget movie producer to the point where a lot of people don't end up getting paid much, if anything, for the work they do, and he needs an actor to play a mummy, and he finds this big, tall, homeless person, and he's like, hey, you'd be perfect, you're big and tall and imposing, you'd be great to play the mummy. And he goes and he talks his friend into shooting it at a real antique shop that has some real Egyptian artifacts, and I think you guys know that that might be a recipe for disaster. There's the hem in his costume there, and he's like, you look just like a mummy from a Universal or a Hammer film, which is actually kind of funny. I just recently reviewed the Hammer mummy on this channel, and he does kind of look like the Hammer mummy with Christopher Lee and whatnot. Really a tall, imposing mummy. I do have both of them reviewed if you guys want to find them somewhere. But anyway, a fun story. You get to see, you know, a cool mummy tale with a bit of a different take on it with the Hollywood and making a movie and stuff. Anyway, moving along, you get this guy, and he's trying to sell his story to Moxie Comics. If you guys are comic fans, you know that this is very reminiscent of the old Marvel logo. He goes in past his secretary and he meets this guy that kind of acts like J. Jonah Jameson, but he keeps telling him the stories aren't good enough and you have to keep putting your heart into it, which is why the story's titled Put Your Heart Into It. And he really pushes this guy pretty hard, although later he admits to the secretary that there's nothing really wrong with the stories and he's just pushing him, but he's also taking the scripts and having his staff writers steal bits of them to get new stories. So this guy's partying, the other guy's slaving away trying to make a good story, and eventually tensions are going to rise, and it's going to wind up in some bad things, you know, very classic Tales from the Crypt style story. Next we have The Horror Horn, and this story is from 1923 from E.F. Benson. So it's cool to see them doing an old-timey story. The last one I reviewed, number 24, they actually did a old H.P. Lovecraft story. But you get this guy, he's with a professor, and he sees a story in the news, the local paper, and they talk about it's a giant human footprint in the snow, and he says, oh, I wouldn't just dismiss this, because way back when, there's this story of a local guide and this man who did go out and look for these things, and they might have found them. So it's these big, you know, Yeti-like creatures, these big Bigfoot type things, and the professor's telling him they might be real, and that might be a clue that maybe they're going to come for him as well. There is I guess it was part of the original story, but kind of a creepy angle where it talks about how the creatures really want to mate with humans, which was a bit, but it doesn't get too graphic, but they really do emphasize that this is why these creatures are kidnapping humans, and I'm like, oh, okay. Up next, this is actually probably my personal favorite. You get The House. So this guy crashes his car and he looks for refuge, and he finds this cool, old, classic-styled haunted house. Really, really fun. He goes in for refuge to see if he can find someone there, and of course it's abandoned, but he turns around, the door disappears, the window disappears behind him, and he gets trapped in this haunted house. But it isn't too long before, well, he's alone as in there's no humans there, but this is definitely haunted. You get a cool Evil Dead 2 style hand hiding under this cloche, and you get some fun giant spooky faces coming out of the wall. And you eventually get to find out what this house is and who he is, and it's a really cool concept. But yeah, definitely a fun haunted house movie, and this is definitely one, you know, I said all these stories are pretty short. This is definitely one that I was like, I could have read a lot more pages with this. You know, I could have read a whole issue with just this story. Fun, kind of wacky haunted house story. Definitely, I'd have to say my favorite of the bunch. The next one I think is actually the last one. Let me flip through it really quick. Oh, well, before we get to that, the Horror Fan Club, you get some guy who's sent in a House on Haunted Hill painting, which is really fun, one of the famous scares of that movie, a really great early jump scare. And then you get Woke by Stephen Beale, and this is actually about waking up, not the current social political movement. But it's two guys arguing about something, and as they argue, you eventually find out why they're arguing and who they are and what's going to happen. It's a pretty fun story. And then the last story, moving on, flipping to it. There we go. The Last of His Kind. You get the old creep there, and he's like, this is fun, but let's have this guy tell his own story, and then switches to him narrating. But he has a job at the power plant late at night, and he tells this story about how he was accidentally splashed with this disease at his job that they had on file there, and he had to go through quarantine until they found out that he was no longer contagious. So he's got this disease, he's been in quarantine for a while, he's not contagious, but still has it, but he can't pass it on. So they let him out, and he finally gets to see his family again. But right as he's out, a new disease starts to sweep the earth, and everybody starts to die to it. So it's pretty bad. But luckily for him, the old disease that he got exposed to makes him immune. And this is a really cool, really fun story. Really reminded me of, say, like Last Man on Earth. And these zombies here are relatively fresh, but you do get to see some more rotten ones, and they're really cool EC Comics designs. Let me see if I can find a panel that shows them, but yeah, doesn't spoil anything. Look at those zombies. I love old creepy EC Comics design zombies. They're skeletons and teeth and the big eye sockets. Really fun, expressive eyes. But yeah, overall I had a good time with this story. The twist at the end was a little bit like kind of out of nowhere, and I was expecting it to relate more, but overall a fun enough idea, and I really did like this story. So overall, 6 stories. The whole magazine is only 50 pages long, so 50 pages divided by 6 stories, that's less than 10 pages each, plus the letters page, plus the ads. So yeah, they are pretty short, but that being said, you go in for a quick bite, and you get to try a bunch of different things, and there's, like I said with the last issue, a wide variety of stories, because if you're going to be doing an anthology and you're not tied to a certain theme, why not try to explore and see a bunch of different stuff? But overall, this issue is just as good as they have been. They're keeping pace, keeping consistently good stories, good art. They're in black and white, but that does give them a really cool, creepy feel. And only $6, which is pretty good for 50 pages. But yeah, good classic horror, reminiscent of the EC comics, Tales from the Crypt and stuff. The good old creep right there. Anyway, I have to say I really like this, and I definitely recommend you guys picking it up. Anyway, to those of you who are new to this channel, you may not know I do a comic every week on this channel. So if you like that, I definitely recommend sticking around. Usually horror comics, or in some way weird stuff. But that being said, other than that, I do about 95% horror movies on this channel. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I definitely recommend sticking around for that. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll see you guys again very, very soon, and I'll put the comics playlist down there at the bottom. So if you guys want to see my other comics, there is the last issue of The Creeps that I reviewed is somewhere in there too. So anyway, have a good day. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon.